No. So again, if you are born before the adoption of the 1987 Constitution, you are considered Filipino, still because the governing law is the 1973. And it also in the same section, it states also that if you are born that those who are citizens at the time of the adoption of that constitution is also a Filipino. So even if you are born before the 1987, you are still Filipino because the governing law was the previous law or the previous constitution. Now those whose fathers, take note again of the conjunction or, so meaning if one of your parent is a Filipino, then the child is considered Filipino. And we have the number 3 here, those who are born before January 17, 1973. Filipino mothers who elect Philippine citizenship, okay, unless by their acts or omission are deemed or under the law to have renounced it. The 1973 January 17 is the effectivity of that law, the 1973 Constitution. Okay, and if you are born before that, the governing law is the 1935 Constitution, which states that if the mother is a Filipino, the child, okay, is not a Filipino. Okay? But if the child elects to become Filipino by their act, okay, the elected Philippine citizenship, they become Filipino. Or by their omission. What does it mean? Their parents applies, okay, to become a Filipino, then they become Filipino. That is omission. They didn't do anything, but it's their parents who did it. They become or they derive citizenship, Philippine citizenship. Or under the law, they have renounced it. So they may renounce actually Philippine citizenship. Now, what is the effect of marriage under that law? So the marriage of citizens of the Philippines who marry aliens shall retain their citizenship. It's not an automatic that a Filipino woman who marries an alien automatically she becomes Filipino. No. Okay, take note here, citizens of the Philippines, that refers to man and woman who marries aliens shall retain their citizenship. They are still considered Filipino. The exception is that unless by their acts or omission they have deemed under the law to have renounced it. What do you mean by act? They take oath of allegiance to another country, so they are no longer Filipino. Or omission. Okay? The law of the country states that upon marriage, the Filipino woman acquires the citizenship of the husband or foreigner. So that deemed order to they have deemed renounce it. So the natural born, this is actually found in subparagraph 4 of the 1987 Constitution, Section 1 of citizenship. Natural born citizens are those citizens of the Philippines from birth without having to perform any act to perfect their citizenship. So if the Filipino citizen did not do anything to acquire their citizenship, to perfect their citizenship, they are called natural born. And the natural born has a privilege, okay, of becoming to be elected in the Philippine in some national offices. Okay, so those who elect Philippine citizenship, okay, the one I explained, in accordance with the Constitution, shall be deemed natural citizens. Still, they are considered natural born citizen if they're born before January 17, 1973 and elect Philippine citizenship. Can it be lost or reacquired? Yes, it can be lost or reacquired in a manner provided by law. So what do you mean by dual allegiance? Okay, this is a review in the class in Constitution, but it's important because it's part of the administrative code. Dual allegiance is inimical, not dual citizenship. Okay, dual allegiance meaning you have dual loyalty. It's inimical. Okay, it's inimical, inimigos, enemy to the national interest and shall be dealt with by law. Now, Chapter 3 under that EO 292, non-suability of a state, no suit shall lie against the state except with its consent as provided by law. Countless times this has been discussed. Okay, as to question whether a state can be sued, the answer is no. No suit shall lie against the state except with its consent as provided by law. So this is how you should answer. You memorize the law. Do not just simply explain it, but state what's the law. If you can memorize the statement, no suit shall lie against the state except with its consent as provided by law. Or you can say under the law, no suit, under EO 292, no suit shall lie against the state except with its consent as provided by law. Okay? So we go to state responsibilities. Okay? When can this has been asked in our exam? Okay, when can a state be sued? Okay, the state shall be legally bound and responsible only through acts performed in accordance with the Constitution and the laws by its duly authorized representatives. So the state can only be responsible on acts performed in accordance with the Constitution and the laws by its duly authorized representative. So who are those duly authorized? So meaning you have to look at the job description of the public officer. If their acts is in accordance with the law, then that is acts of the state, meaning they are, if it's in their performance of their duty, then it's an act of the state and therefore they cannot be sued. Okay, so that also applies to the principle of presumption of regularity, meaning the acts which is in question is presumed to be legal or regular and is in accordance with the law. Like an officer, a police officer is conducting a search warrant, the presumption is that it is a validly conducted. Okay, so it is now for the defense to overthrow the presumption of that regularity. The state shall not be bound by the mistakes or errors of its officers or agents in the exercise of their functions. Okay, so that explanation is fits for this subparagraph. The state shall not be bound by its mistakes or errors of its officers or agents in the exercise of their functions. So state cannot be bound by the mistakes or errors of its officers or agents. And who will be responsible for the damage caused by that officer? The officer himself. Okay, not the state. Okay, because the state is not the officer. So remember that. Okay, so take note, if possible, memorize all these principles. These are basic. The state shall not be bound by mistakes or errors of its officers or agents in the exercise of their functions. Now we go to the national symbols and official language. The national flag. Okay, the flag of the Philippines should be red, white, and blue. Okay, with the sun, the 3 stars, and consecrated and honored by the people and recognized by law. Okay, the custody and ceremonial occasion and manner of display, and the proper care and disposition of the flag shall be governed by the appropriate rules and regulations. Now, what do you mean by that? Take note of that. This is actually in the Constitution. Okay, that the flag should be red, white, and blue. Can that be changed? Yes, but you have to still add or revise or amend the Constitution which states that provision. Now, the ceremony even of the disposal of the flag shall be in accordance with the law. Even of the singing of the national anthem, no, there must be a proper way of displaying it. It cannot be that the upper part is red. Okay, that it symbolizes. It has a different meaning. Should be blue up, and then below is the red. National anthem. Okay. Until otherwise provided by law, the musical arrangement and composition of Julian Felipe is adopted as the national anthem. It shall be sung or played under the opening or the start of the state celebrations and gatherings. So take note of that. Opening and the start of all state celebrations or gathering on such other occasions as may be prescribed by an appropriate rules and regulations. So every time, and this is the reason why every now and then when we had a state celebrations, okay, all state celebrations must be what? Start with a national anthem. And it should be sung in that manner. Okay, it should not be sung differently from the original composition of Julian Felipe. Okay, there was a question lately on the singing of the national anthem, which was in a variety sung during the boxing of Manny Pacquiao, and the National Historical Commission question it. It should not be sung in a different rhythm or different rhythm. Now, the arms and the Great Seal of the Republic of the Philippines. So how it should look like. Okay, so you've seen it in an old coin, okay, already. But as to how it would appear, there's no picture here, but you can see that in the internet. These are the arms which shall have pale waist of 2 pieces, azuri and golds, a cheap argent stud with 3 mullets equidistant of each other. I think you have seen an old peso, right? At the back there's it's like there are lions. I think it's a lion, 2 lions. That's the seal of the Republic of the Philippines. Okay, pointing an honor of a void argent over all the sun, rayonant with an 8 minor and lesser race. Beneath shall be a scroll of the words Republic of the Philippines, or its equivalent in the national language, or Republika ng Pilipinas. Okay, so but the modern peso now or coin no longer have this, but in an older one, you've seen this even in old peso, bigger than the biggest coin we have now. It's only worth 1 peso. I've seen that before. In my time, you don't see it in your time, but we have that. Okay, that's the Great Seal of the Republic of the Philippines, or known as the coat of the arms. The Great Seal shall be circular in forms, okay, with the arms described as the preceding paragraph, but without the scroll and the inscription thereon, surrounding the whole a double marginal circle, within which shall appear the words Republic of the Philippines or equivalent in the national language. For the purpose of placing the Great Seal, the color of the arms shall not be deemed essential. Now, we go to the use and custody of the Great Seal. The Great Seal shall be affixed to or placed upon all commissions signed by the President and upon such other official documents and papers of the Republic of the Philippines as may be required by a customs and usage. The President shall have the custody of the Great Seal. So this is also found in Congress during the opening of or every zona. Okay, just like a registrar seal, right? And you have that also in the Philippines, and we call it as the Great Seal. Okay, the arms, seals, and banners of the government offices. The various offices of the government may adopt appropriate coat of arms. It's like a logo. Okay, the seals and banners. So official language until otherwise provided by law. Okay, these are found in the Constitution. The Filipino and English shall be the official language. Now, we go to the effectivity of the laws. Okay, every law shall take effect after 15 days, following the completion of their publication in official gazette in the newspaper of general circulation unless it is otherwise provided. Generally, the law shall take effect only after 15 days following the completion of their publication in the official gazette or in the newspaper of general circulation unless otherwise provided by law. What do you mean by unless otherwise provided by law? If the law states that it should be effective on that particular day or maybe a year after, just like the family code, then that law governs. But generally, it will only take effect 15 days after its publication. Why? To give the people the right to know, okay, of the laws. So it is what part of due process. Now, what is prospectivity? Law shall have prospective effect unless contrary is expressly provided. Meaning, from the time it is approved, then it will be effective forward, not backward, which is called retroactive. The law is not like that. So it is prospective. Interpretation of the laws and administrative issuances. In the interpretation of a law or administrative issuances promulgated in all official languages, okay, the English text shall control unless otherwise specifically provided. In case of ambiguity, omission, or mistake, other texts may be consulted. So generally, if you analyze a certain text or interpret laws, it's based on the English language. If there is a doubt as to its meaning, then it can be resolved in other language or consult in other language. Why is it important? Important because, this might create confusion. Okay? And sometimes when the original is translated, it gives another meaning. Okay? Example is we have the penal law before, which was written in Spanish, but when we translate it to English, there are no specific translation. So what we did, we go back to the original language for its proper implementation or interpretation. Now, no law impliedly revival of repeal law. When a law which expressly repeals or a prior law itself repealed, the law first repealed shall not be thereby revived unless expressly so provided. So, if there is a new law that repeals other law, the law first repealed shall not be thereby revived. So, What does it mean? So if the law repeals a prior law, okay, it doesn't mean that the previous law that it repeals it will automatically revive, except when the law provide that it will revive the old law that the law repeals, that the law itself repealed. Okay, so it does not revive unless, again, take note that the law creating, or that law that repeals the previous law revives the other law that it formerly repealed. So in other words, just look at the repealing law if it revives former laws. Okay, so to make it safe, they had the word there, all other laws are repealed. Okay, so meaning it will not revive anymore other previous laws. Now, revival of law impliedly repealed. When the law which impliedly repealed, okay, a prior law itself repealed, the prior law shall thereby revive unless repealing law provides otherwise. Now, what do you mean by impliedly? So, when the law which impliedly repeals clearly state that it's going to repeal, that's the meaning of implied. I don't know. It does not state there, but eventually, if you understand it, it will repeal the previous law. But it does not specify. But understanding it, because of the contrary provision, it impliedly repeals prior law. Okay? So that's the meaning of implied. It does not specify, but that it is going to repeal previous law, but the provision is contrary or contradictory, then it will repeal. That's called impliedly repeals prior law itself repealed. Okay, the prior law shall thereby revive. So the previous law that repeals the former law will be revived because it is an implied repeal unless the repealing law provides otherwise. Okay, so take note again if it's an implied or express. If it is an implied, it will revive former law, while if it's an express, it will not revive unless there is expressly so provides. Okay, now basic understanding of the law, ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. Okay, even if you don't know the law, still there is a penalty for not obeying the law. Ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. What's the reason? Because if everybody will make an excuse that he or she doesn't know the law, then no one will be in prison. Okay? And after all, knowing the law or not knowing it is just a state of the mind, and no one can dissect the mind to prove that you know the law or you don't know the law. Okay? So since you cannot prove it that you know or you do not know it, they'd better punish the wrongdoer for not knowing the law. Okay? In fact, this is the reason why it must be published for within 2 weeks or 15 days. Okay, to give them a chance to know the law.